Hello YouTube, welcome to Draco Does It. I'm going to be showing you how I fixed a compressor today. It was something I picked up on Marketplace for like 50 bucks and I'll show it to you right now. This is it. It's a Campbell Housefield, a 26 gallon, 6.9 SCFM, 40 PSI. And it does 5.5 and 90. So it's actually a really cool tank, has a 125 PSI max. They make solid tanks. These are really good tanks. There was a problem though when I bought it, and you have to forgive the lighting. It's a little poopy up here. But it had a pretty solid motor, and it was cheap. I got it for like 40-50 bucks. I had an issue, had a leak. I had a leak here with this pipe that sticks out. And I'm going to show you what it looked like before I tore it down and what I did to fix the leak and how I'm repairing and upgrading this for super cheap for the do-it-yourself guys in the garage like me. Alright, I'll try to find a picture of what it looked like exactly online, and I'll put it in the video. It had all this plastic covering and all this junk, and I had to get to the leak, and so it had this pipe in here sticking out of it, and it's just kind of a weird contraption setup, and there's a lot of easy leverage and flex. So what happened was it was leaking from down in here, and obviously you can see it snapped off, and this is obviously old and rusted, and it was working, the motor works, but yeah, I was just going to seal the leak and replace the pipe with this new one, which you can get in any hardware stores, 1/4-inch pipe, pipe thread, so National Pipe Thread, NPT, or MPT for male pipe thread like they use now, and just replace this little 5-6 inch pipe. I could have done that, but on Amazon you can get these. So on Amazon you can get these full-blown kits for really cheap, for like 25 bucks with all the parts and a new pressure switch to do your repairs. Now, once I was sure that the threads were fixed and that this threaded in, I'm going to show you how I fixed it, and I was going to be able to seal this thing. Let me show you how I fixed this. Don't be scared to do it yourself, garage guys, okay? Let me focus there. So as you can see, I got the piece out, and what I did was I went and got a 1/4-inch number 18 National Pipe Thread rethreader. Works amazing. Recommended a 7/16 drill bit, I believe. It says on the packaging. Don't quote me, but I believe that's what it was. And so I took this guy with my drill. I put some grease on it, and I drilled straight down through here. When I did that, this guy popped out, stuck to the grease in the bit, and it came out. And then I used this guy with some grease to catch the filings to rethread it. I also did it with the compressor laying on its side, so I can make sure to pull out all the extra metal and flakes. Now that we were done with that, and that's repaired, and this new pipe threads in, it was time to replicate what it was on there originally. One of the important aspects was getting the, I googled the model number, but as you can see, we've got 90 PSI on and off at 125. You may not find the exact one, but that's because they're adjustable. So I was able to find one like at a 90 and a 125, and so it's adjustable. So, and I'll show you all that. I'll show you how it goes together. But right now, we ordered our kit off Amazon. We have it. Move my drink out of the way. And we're going to replicate this setup. I undid the wires and yada yada. They just unclip. We're going to replicate everything because the new instructions comes with new wiring information, and it's really, really easy, and you can do it yourself at home. Alright, it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube right now. I took it all apart. I'll have to remember to see if I can put it back together how I had it. But essentially you take the pressure switch like we have here. This is just the cap that covers it. And so what I'm going to do is replicate the setup that I had. And so it has all the pieces you need to do that. I'm going to screw this guy. Now now obviously we would use some tape, maybe some thread locker, whatever your preference is. When we're doing it and finally installing it for permanent installation. Right now I'm just mimicking my setup and showing you how I'm going to do it. This guy goes here actually, and then this guy has a smaller thread that goes into here, and so I'm mimicking the setup that I had here, and so that's how I'm going to roll with it. It's very, very similar. Flip this guy over, flip this guy over. We're going to have our new pipe here where it goes into the compressor. And so this is what's going to go, my new setup, on top of the compressor and where I connect my tools and do all my work. So now back at the compressor, you can see we're going to have our new setup. I may not be able to run the factory plastic, but I'm not worried about it. You need to keep your compressor inside and secure at all times anyway. you know, I did have to disassemble, but it does have all the wiring and information. So I'm going to kind of show you the wiring setup as well. But this is going to be a great setup for what I need and a great repair. You got your on-off switch accessible, the bleeder, everything you need. So let's go over now the wiring and setup. All right, let's check out that wiring. We're going to go over the manual. We also have the inside of the tray that gives us an example. I did want to make a quick mention though. Shout out to Amazon as well for the filters that you can screw into the side of the head here and get a nice new fresh filter on there. Make sure you tape it and or thread lock it. No, don't thread lock it actually. Just do tape on that one. Sorry. Yeah, easily replaceable. You can even pull the caps apart and replace the filter inside. They twist off right here. So really, really cool. So next we're going to go over this wiring. So the sides have this really cool rubber grommets that came with it, and you can put the wires through each side, make it nice and neat and clean. It has this little kind of nipple on it, and what I did was just cut it off with a razor blade. Wasn't a clean cut, probably could have used some scissors, but they just pop in the sides here. Like so, and you can put your wiring through there, and then when you put the cap on, it's nice and clean, have your wires coming through, and it looks great. So basic compressors have two sets of wires. You've got the power cable that goes into the wall, and you've got your ground and your hot, you know, your positive, negative, and your ground. And so it can get a little confusing, but you'll figure it out, and I'll show you. So you have a simple positive and negative also coming from the motor itself. There's wires coming from the motor. These are just the actual power cord that goes in the wall. So let's start installing this. Quick mention, these are the adjustment screws that the manual goes over and tells you your shut off and pressure. So for your pressures, to adjust your start up and start off for your pressures. And then also everything, as the manual explains on the right hand side, it says live. So all this is live. These are your hots or your positives, and then your negatives are here. This is where your ground wires go, and I have the screw for this. It was over there on my table. So there's two spots for ground, and then yeah, let me show you what the final kind of product looks like. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push these wires. I've stripped them already. Make sure you get your wire strippers. Okay, I don't want to skip stuff and assume you know everything. Get your wire strippers, make sure it's the right gauge. There's the sizes. Strip the wires off, twist them up a little bit, because we need to wrap them around these terminals. What I want to do now is push these wires through this side. We're going to wire this nice and professional looking. So let's go ahead and start with the ground wire. Make sure it's on the bottom. This is the green wire. I'm going to push that back through there. And it's a little wobbly up here. Kind of got to work where you got to work sometimes. So let's go ahead and screw down and make sure this looks nice and neat. This green grounding wire. Okay, that's nice and tight out of the way. Then as we're looking at the instructions, the top one says to motor. So and the bottom one says to power supply and or wall outlet. So what we're going to do is actually put, we're going to focus here, and then we're going to use these two wires for here. So typically for the power cables, if I'm remembering right, the black is your hot and the white is your not. So I'd like to twist these, and I actually like to bend them and curl them. And then you want to make sure you put it on the left side so that when you're screwing down, it twists and pulls the wire into itself and cinches down very nicely. And so we're going to make sure we got enough slack here, get this guy in there, and we're going to cinch this guy down as well. Okay, once these are nice and snugged up and you verify your wiring and it looks right, we can move on to the next item, which is going to be the motor itself and the positive and negative wire for the motor. So to make sure this looks all nice and neat, I'm going to go ahead and I have this one coming in from that side. I'm going to have the motor wires coming in from the opposite side. And this is just how I'm doing mine. Each compressor is different, but I want to give you a good example of how I would personally do it. This is my equipment, obviously, and I want to make sure it looks nice. We also want to make sure we have enough slack. So, and this has this little module here, probably probably a fuse or something. So now this is the hot side. So this is a black and a red. So I'm gonna double check everything after, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the black in this case looks like it's gonna be the ground. So if you don't have a good angle, apologies. Working with what I got here, my space. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this guy in. Kind of hold it with my body there a little bit. We're gonna get this guy cinched in. We're gonna get the red one cinched in. Looks like I need a little more height. You see, and sometimes you need to twist it and give it a little curl, and then push the curl up in there. That one had a little bit too much of a twist to it, a little too much of a curl. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and cinch this guy down. None of the other wires are touching each other. Everything looks good. And then also the cap will now fit over the unit nicely. And then you can cinch it down there as well. So I kind of staged everything and got it ready, got it in there. I haven't Loctite or taped anything yet, but this is my initial staging and setup to make sure that none of the wires are getting tugged on. Everything's in the clear. We might zip tie this out of the way here to make sure that this unit, as it's pumping, doesn't interfere with this fuse and wire. And this is pretty much what it's gonna look like, probably with the cover off. I'm gonna reassemble it, and actually the stock cover for it might actually fit. So just verifying my handle's gonna fit, which looks like it is. I actually have to compress it a little bit to get it to fit in there, but the unit itself is all gonna fit. I'm gonna line everything up and taper down. And so for like 30 bucks, you can get a whole new unit, all new parts, seal it all up, get a new filter, and keep your motor running, and keep your seals tight, and keep your pressure solid. And also, you know, repair any threading or anything you need to do on some of these really good solid tanks. I mean, so in total, this tank new is usually somewhere between $500, $800 for 30-gallon tanks, maybe $400 if you're lucky. But I was able to get the tank, you know, for 40 bucks. This was 25. We're at 65. $5 for a filter. We're like 70 bucks. You get a compressor that you can use in the shop and easily fix without spending much money or time. All right, I got her all taped down. Everything's good to go. Cinched down. Needs like a 13 and a 16, whether you're using standard or metric wrenches, etc. But to tighten down all the nuts. And yeah, this is what the final product's going to look like. And I'll probably put the cover back on it, like I said. But we'll see. Filter's on tight. Everything is ready to go. So I'm going to flip it on and show you that she's building and holding pressure. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. She's got no leaks anywhere. Sounds real good. Everything's holding real tight. I'm not losing any pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and show you on the bottom that she's, I'm going to go ahead and let the air out if I can untighten it with one hand. You can hear the air. It's coming down. So there you have it. You got a $60 spent, 65 bucks, and you got a $600 compressor.